you feel about meditation? It's a very, very interesting thing. I have tried several times. I've listened to different people. I've searched various resources, and I understand to a degree that I have to quiet my mind. But do I stop it? And so I've looked around and I said, well, who do I know that could possibly help me, help you, and help myself and share their experience? Because we've all been through it. So today, Brian Jones, who is on his journey to become and find out who is Brian Jones, is going to share his methods, techniques, and his mindsets to accomplish the grand things that meditation can give us. So sit back, relax, gather the information, and appreciate, and go on the journey, and let's discover who is Brian Jones. So let's go. The world and the state it's in today, I think it's a great moment to take time to center ourselves, to reflect, and to think about the personal journey that we're on. I have a friend joining as a contributing voice today, Brian Jones. I've just watched his journey, and I've watched how he's taken himself into a better place, a more internalized, centered place. And so I wanted to have a conversation with him focused on a couple of things, but specifically knowing yourself in meditation. So no person can introduce themselves better than themselves. So Brian, thank you for being here, and I'll let you have the microphone.
Appreciate it, Lou. Thanks, man. So thank you for having me, man. This is awesome. I'm super excited to be here and to really dive in today and provide some value to you and your listeners. And my name is Brian Jones, and I'm a father of two girls, Brenna, who is 6, and Bristol, who is 3. And yeah, I'm just a guy who is on a journey. Last year, I went through probably the most uh, difficult. I was really depressed, and I was going through a divorce, and I lost my identity. Really, I was in real estate with my brother Chris, and I realized I didn't really want to do that anymore. So I was struggling with my identity. So I read a lot of books. I began this practice of transforming, and that led me to really craft the story of who I want to be. I realized I was telling myself the same stories over and over every day, and that was keeping me depressed and was keeping me from really truly becoming who I am meant to hear, who I'm meant to become. So over the past year, I have been practicing writing, exercising. I've been documenting my journey. I've been meditating. I've been praying, and it's led me to the point where I am at now, which is just uh, full of transformation.
The episode title is Who is Brian Jones? But it's something that you've created yourself. So if you were going to explain who is Brian Jones, like what would you tell someone?
Well, Brian Jones. Brian Jones is a spiritual being, and I don't want to get too woo woo, but that's the truth. I feel most alive when I am internalizing myself. So Brian Jones right now is the guy who is becoming his greatest possible self. What that means is I make the commitment. I am involved in some workout groups called Grit. And it's not really even working out. It's more about self-awareness, really truly becoming have this undisputed awareness that everything is connected. So right now I am involved with Grit, which is a daily workout program where we are given daily principles that we internalize and we write about. And what this does is it grows awareness within us through different, mind, body, spirituality, and relationships. And we document the journey. I write. I'm very in tune to who I am and who I want to become, which is the greatest possible version of myself. And as someone who is disciplined, someone who takes the time to meditate, to go inside, to really slow down, and to make an impact on myself first, because without that, I can't make an impact on others, and then to make an impact to other people. It's really about showing up and becoming that best version of yourself.
Results
Improvement
has it
every day.
provided for you and those who are connected to you, this journey that you're on now?
Besides the tangible results, there's the physical results of where you show up, you work out even when you don't feel like it. I've dropped 12 pounds in the past 6 months, and I've dropped 15 I dropped 6% body fat, and and I still got a lot of way to go, but all the most important thing right now for me, the tangible results, is when I have people sending me messages on via Instagram or Facebook, and they're telling me that certain things that I write, my certain perspective is inspiring them. That to me is the most important thing on my journey right now, because just what I've been on, even through my quantum hypnosis healing sessions, where I truly discovered from my higher self what my purpose is. My purpose here on earth, Lou, my purpose here, I truly believe, is just to shed light to those in the dark. And that's the skill that I have been working on over this past year, since that time when I was literally wanting to kill myself, not only a year ago, to the point where I am at now, where people are messaging me, telling me that my stories are inspiring them. That's the most tangible result I've had, is people reaching out to me.
So, what's the process you used to get yourself focused?
It's the 4A process, which now he changed it to the 5A. But the 4A is like, that's what I'm more familiar with, because he added affirmations to it. But it's awareness of what you're feeling. So I'm just sad right now, whatever. Like, I just feel it in my solar plexus. I'm just sad. It's like, okay, I'm aware of it. Now you got to accept it, because what most people, men especially, they'll feel sad, but they'll mask it as anger. So they'll walk around angry all day, but really deep down beneath the anger is sadness that they are avoiding because they don't want to feel it. And because it hurts, it sucks to feel the sadness. But when you're feeling angry, you feel like it's more appropriate. But again, that's depression, because that anger is turned inward, and that's how you feel. It's that sadness that you're neglecting. But I say that to say this: it's the acceptance. If you give that sadness a safe place, you can begin to amplify that energy, because we can't get rid of it. Remember, we've got to amplify it, we got to transform it. And so the amplify part is where you really get like, you flow the energy, you tune into where it's presenting itself. Then this is where it's a practice, because you can really like, oh, my shoulders, I got this stiff feeling in my shoulders. Let me
Right.
wrote so I'm kind of slow speeching right now, because that's me flowing the energy. So it's like I got this dense energy in my shoulders, and I'm working it out, and I'm flowing it up through my body, and I'm flowing it out into inspired action, which is that fourth A, is action. So when you're in
Right.
this inspired state, so
Right.
you can I think you can hear it in my voice. I'm already kind of like getting inspired into a higher elevated state, and that's where that's the process. So when you get into that action state, it's like you ask yourself these questions, like, how do I want to feel? What do I want? And what am I willing to do to get there? And if you're asking yourself from an inspired state, a state of a higher vibrational frequency, you're going to get clarity.
We're creatures of habit, so we can have a routine, and we can do the routine, and we might not know that we are not ourselves anymore. So how would you sort of describe, if for a person to know maybe they're in the dark?
They know they're in the dark for me. Like, in my opinion, they know. You're right, though. We are creatures of habit, and 98% of the population, are in that law of hypnotic rhythm, where they're in that routine. They're stuck, that they may not know they're stuck. Um, the people who come in contact with me, they know they're in the dark. They have this overwhelming sense of sadness and depression, and they just don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to get out of it. They've tried, but they just keep telling themselves the same stories over and over again, and it's affecting their relationships. It's affecting how they feel about themselves. And Lou, it's like, what is depression anyway? Depression is anger turned inward. So they can't process these emotions. They don't know how to process emotions. So this dense energy is just hanging out. inside their body and it physically manifests. You got people with back pains, people with sciatic nerve injuries. That's what I've had. And these low energies, they just need to be resolved. They need resolution. And so how can you resolve in these low dense energies that are hanging out? We got to flow the energy. So yeah, those are the people who have been coming into my world.
Some of the words you're using, which I also use, some people may shun them or run away from them because they're like, oh, that spiritual and all. But the thing about it is even if you're a science believer, you understand that you can't see energy, but energy exists and is neither created nor destroyed. So we have to accept that. And so even though you could say, oh, it's woo-woo, it's really not, because if they accept science, then they have to, and if they just use their scientific brain, it makes sense. They may not agree with the nomenclature of it, but they understand that, hey man, I can't see electricity, but I know it's there. And so to say energy and stuff like that, right?
We are all energy. I mean, even at like a cellular level, we're like 50 trillion cells. The human body is 50 trillion cells just collectively working. So we are energy. Everything is energy.
With that, like you were talking about the people that are coming in contact with you.
Sure.
So like,
for sure,
how has this journey that you're on now affected what you want from relationships and what your relationships are now with people?
So that's a good question. Like, really, I don't do well with superficial relationships like right now. I feel like it's opened me up to really, even with strangers, dude. I can like really go to strangers and just kind of like have real conversations. Not like, oh, the weather, how's the weather? Oh yeah, good. Okay, yeah. Those small conversations really don't really apply to me anymore. What I've noticed is I've been able to just reach out to just anybody really, and right off the bat, have a deeper conversation than normal. And that's just because I have been practicing detachment. So whereas some people will have a fear of being judged or the need for approval, and so they kind of talk about the weather because they don't want to straight up, be made to look foolish in front of a stranger. I don't know. That just doesn't really matter to me anymore. And so it has allowed me to really pour into those people who, who I talk to and who I help. And it's really, it's helped me and it's helped them because I don't have to worry about fear of being judged.
I was listening to this guy named Seth Godin. I ran across him on the web not too long ago, and he had this idea about mentors. He said it's silly to look for mentors. Number one, because if this person is a really good mentor, they'll never have enough time to dedicate to you, because the really good mentors have thousands of people who want to mentor them. So you're not going to get good mentorship for them. But secondly, so it's better, instead of having a mentor, it's better to have a hero. And the reason you can do that is because you can envision what you think they would want you to do based on your research of who they are in the space you want to be in. And that actually will give you better mentorship than trying to ask a person to mentor you, because if they don't have time, there's energy and conversations. Right. When you want to talk, they may not be able to talk. So he said it's better to have heroes than to have mentors, because if you really want to be successful in life, you prefer to have a hero because they can never let you down, so to speak, because you can isolate to an arena. A mentor can let you down because they can be unavailable, they cannot have time for you, or they may not be personable where you don't like them after you meet them. And so it's an interesting thing, because I agree and I disagree, because I think having mentors, plural, is probably good, but having a person that could be your hero, not your goal, but your hero of saying, man, they did this, and I have a vision, and their path seems like it might fit my personality, seems better in the grander sense, because you never have to have access to the hero.
So I was that's a great point, and thanks for sharing with me what Chris said and what you said. I appreciate that. I was actually watching something on Instagram through Jason Capital's page. I don't know if you're familiar with Jason Capital. He puts out a lot of great content that I like. But he was saying something. He had a guest on one of his shows, and the guest was saying that he goes through 30 days of one following one person, and he takes from them 30 days worth of content, and he processes it, he internalizes it, and then he goes on to the next one. So in regards to mentors, you're right. If I was to write Tony Robbins and say, hey, can you be my mentor? Well, he's pretty occupied, he's high in demand. So what energy can he really give Brian Jones, right? But when you focus on somebody who you really want to learn from, what I took from that video was you can really narrow down, get really super focused for 30 days, just follow one person's advice. You may not disagree, you may not agree with everything, but you can learn where they're coming from. And I think that right now in my stage, in my season of transformation, I'm about learning, I'm about processing. And it's a lot of people's different opinions. It's like right now I'm a sponge, whereas growing up, I was always kind of like, I was always curious, but I never really took the time per se to really understand where people are truly coming from. It's like Dale Covey says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And I think that's actually where a lot of people are getting wrong. There's a lot of issues we're having is people are not seeking to understand. They're seeking to they want their opinion to be right instead of seeking to understand where others are coming from.
And funny thing is what you said is absolutely the mantra that I have for politics. And we're not going to talk about politics unless you want to, but we're not going to talk about politics. But that's literally the issue with the United States. And I think that's, and I wouldn't even say just the United States. There's many other places in the world, but the United States is in the forefront at this moment, sort of globally, even with this pandemic thing that doesn't necessarily originate. But people have that issue where political parties make that easy. And I think if people got rid of political parties, that would get rid of that. But then you eliminate I don't know if it's genetic, but the instinct to be tribal. I think people want to be tribal. They want to. They need to have a tribe. Otherwise, they feel lost because people prefer to follow than to lead. And I'm not calling them sheep because people will call people like that sheeple. Mm-hmm. But you can follow other people and still lead. You just have to know when to get off sort of the trail with the rest of the sheep.
Yeah, it's learning. It's like learning how to think for yourself. You can agree with a certain party, you can align to it, but following them blindly, and that not just politics, anything. Like you go politics and go religion, anything really where you follow blindly and you don't have to think for yourself. That's in referring back to Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, that's the characteristic trait of a drifter, someone who cannot think for themselves. And somebody who cannot think for themselves, that person's easy to control. So I feel like I'm at a point in my life, and I know you are, where we think for ourselves, and that's really a unique trait in this day and age.
Well, the other thing is that I think the hard thing for humans in general from observation is they find it difficult to own, admit, or accept the critique that they're a follower. They don't want to believe that. They want to believe they're independent thinkers because they did this thing and this thing and this thing. Yes, you did do things, but that's because you saw someone else do it and you did it because you saw the outcome that person had. And so I think people become insulted if you ever call them a follower. And and it's weird because I think the other big thing is people are rarely self-critical enough. And I think it's that, like, they want to be right.
Yeah.
It's similar to what you just said a little while ago. They want to be right. And if they're not, they're like, well, then I'm just not going to hear it. And people often say, well, we don't want to talk about politics, but politics is everything. In my definition, and I've looked at different definitions, my definition of politics is the art of negotiation. You're negotiating through things every single day and every single moment. So if you don't have a skill to do that and accept, hey man, this loss will benefit me in another way, then you've not mastered the art, and you will never grow. And I seldom use the word never because it can always be proven wrong at some point, right? But you seldom grow to who you could totally be. Like the L's that I've taken in my life, up until now, and I'm taking now, I should say, I know that they're making me a better person. It's just, what will I actualize it and feel it and embrace it and embody it so I can understand and feel where I am,
So
you know?
that's, yeah, exactly. And that's, nobody's immune to adversity. We all go through adversity. We all suffer those L's, but it's what we learn from them, and it's how we grow from them. So there's no such thing as failure. If you believe that, there's temporary defeat, and what can you learn from that defeat forward? So it's not getting stuck.
The most important relationships probably in your life now is yours as a father. So, like, how has this helped you become a better father, in your opinion?
I remember last year when I was in my apartment and I was going through the separation, and I was just stressed. Lou, I was living from a place of just constant fear and stress, and uh, I was being a terrible dad. I was irritable. I was taking all of the frustrations out on them. I was screaming a lot, and it really was not it's not the kind of dad who I wanted to be. So as I set on my path to really learn to control my emotions, and I'm still working on it, by the way. It's not like I'm not perfect dad. I still yell sometimes, and I don't. But right now it's easier for me to catch it, get calm, and then not scream and freak out. But yeah, for a while there, it was affecting my relationships because I felt so bad about myself. It was easy to scream at my daughters and yell at them and just pour the frustration out on them when they didn't deserve it. So as I've grown and as I've practicing the transformation, it's actually helped me become a better father because I'm able to catch myself when I'm getting frustrated and trying to, instead of yelling and freaking out, I'm able to get centered and talk to them more calmly. And then it's just a win-win for everybody because I don't want my daughters to grow up expecting to be screamed at. You know what I mean? And that's okay. And there's just different things that I'm working on as far as that. And that's what helped, man. It's like the meditation and the going and raising my own awareness as to how can I become a better father. Okay. Well, it starts with feeling better about yourself. Okay. So what do I have to do to feel better about myself? I need to practice the discipline of writing, of meditating, of working out, of serving others. You know what I mean? So it's that's how it's helped. It's helped just me become a better dad.
Really interesting. You mentioned meditation. So, what's a meditation maybe you do in the morning or you do at any point in time that you can provide to maybe help other people kind of possibly find a focus in the method that you use?
So there's no shortage of like meditation apps and YouTube videos and things of that nature. I'm a big proponent of the app Calm. I use Calm a lot, but so in the morning time, I have been actually practicing more of the Wim Hof breathing method, and I take cold showers. So that's a part of the challenge-based life that I do. So right now, a lot of my focus is on the Wim Hof breathing in the morning, followed by the cold shower. Now, my main meditation practice happens at nighttime. Is when I'm able to reflect on the day, um, and I do different methods. Like I said, I do Calm app at times, but then there's times where I'll go on YouTube and I'll type in night meditations. I'll throw in some heads like my headphones, and I really just practice being in the moment. And that's what it's all about, focusing on my breath coming in and out. And it's crazy because the more I've been practicing, the better I've become. So there's this misconception around meditations. People just feel like they don't know how to turn their brains off. And that's not what it's about. It's about noticing when these thoughts are coming to your mind and letting them pass and then getting back to center. So that's really my main thing right now is the night reflection meditations, and it's great for opening up my heart, getting my mind and my heart aligned, and really just reflecting on the day.
You say, okay, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes or 15. Like, how did you get yourself to the point you are?
So I definitely, when I was building the discipline, I just started off small. I started off at 5 minutes, and then I did that for a few weeks, and then I constantly progressed. But right now I'm sitting at 20 to 25 minutes a night, and a lot of that is the it's less guidance right now. So right now, I'll throw on, the videos or the Calm app, and I go with the less guidance ones because I'm focusing on internal. I'm focusing on my breath. I'm focusing on how I want to feel and how I want to show up, and it helps me get centered. And the thing is, when I go like 2 or 3 days without meditating, I get flustered. I get like thrown off my game, and I just get out of whack. Even happened to me this week. Earlier this week there was, Tuesday and Wednesday I didn't meditate, and by Thursday I was just like, I was like freaking out. But it's important to me. So at nighttime is when I reflect, and in the morning time I practice the breathing and the cold showers. And so yeah, so right now I'm about 20 minutes at nighttime with
That
my
you're
sleep
reading
as
and
well.
philosophies that you're following right now that you would recommend for other people, or that you just really like yourself?
So good question. Right now I'm really big into Joe Dispenza. um Gaia is the
Yes,
app.
yes.
And it's funny, man. A lot of people, have you heard of Gaia? I'm sure you have. You've heard of Gaia, right? Yeah. So right now a lot of people are and there's nothing wrong with this, Lou. They're on the net, they're on Netflix. We're in quarantine. And I really want to just encourage people to turn off Netflix just for a little while. Just for a little while. Order Gaia. Gaia is an app. It's like $10 a month, but you can get a free trial. There's so much on there for meditation, uh, just a lot of content as far as spirituality. They even got things from like ancient aliens. They got a lot of things to just observe. But as far as that's Gaia is a program that I'm doing right now. And but one of the main books that helped me on my journey was The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And the very first law he mentions, the law of pure potentiality. It's the object referral point, which is where you place your power in status, money, titles, but that is rooted out of fear and control, right? So whenever the economy crashes and you lose your job or you lose your title, because you've placed your power, because you've placed your self-worth in those things, now that they're stripped. And that basically, that this is what I was going through last year when I left real estate, and I lost my identity as a husband, as a business owner. I didn't know what I was doing. That power was stripped from me, and it left me feeling depressed and hopeless and helpless. Whereas the people who place their power in what's called the self-referral point, they realize that the power comes from within, so within yourself. And that's where you gotta that's the importance of meditation, because that's how you tune into that last year
I
as
saw a
well.
thing, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but I just wanted to throw these out there. There was a YouTube video. YouTube, and like, just is giving us endless resources where we can be connected to just about anything. But there's a thing that they had like 9 books that people should read for their life. Like, I think this was one. That, Why You Act the Way You Do. There's another one, Positioning, the Battle for Your Mind.
Mhm.
Uh, a virus, scientific advertising, how friends and influence people, and the magic of thinking big. And I'm just throwing those out there because you probably are aware of if of some, if not
Yeah.
all of those. And so I wanted to add that because I think what you offered was really good. So, uh, how do people find you, contact you, maybe follow your journey, or even join you on the journey?
You can find me on Instagram. Becoming Brian Jones is my Instagram handle. And yeah, so it's fun, man, because I feel like this is a game now. I feel like I have made a game out of life, just trying to strive for 1% improvement every day, and giving myself to more people. because I feel like there are a lot of people, like I said, in the dark, and just trying to be a light to those people. Um, I kind of touched upon it earlier with the quantum hypnosis sessions that I've done in the past. My very first one though, she asked my higher self, when I was going through this depression, she was like, "What is the point of the darkness?" And what my higher self came through was what I said was he needed to know what the darkness was like so that he can help those who are currently in it. And that's the main nugget that I took away from that whole season of my struggle where I was really depressed and full of loathing is I had to go through that because I had to know what it felt like so that I could help those who are currently feeling that way. So yeah, I'm excited to just help other people and connect with them and however I can help
Because
doing
I
that.
think you've done a little bit of, and so a little bit of it already, and so I want to just ask the direct question: how do you define success at this moment? Because I know your definition now is different than what it was before.
Great question. So that, how do you define success? So success to me is when you're living in integrity and you are striving to become better and you are improving your life, but you're also striving to improve the lives of others. So I've always grown up thinking success is when you have the beach house and you have the nice cars and everything like that. But the problem with that is they can all be taken away, and then you're left feeling helpless. And trust me, success is not about money. It's not about it's not about status. Because if it was, then you wouldn't have people like Robin Williams. You wouldn't have people like Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park. You wouldn't have all these successful people who we consider successful so miserable and end up taking their lives. Success comes from human needs, right? There's the six human needs. Contribution and growth are two of the spiritual needs. So success to me is when you are meeting and acquiring and obtaining those contribution and growth, when you're contributing to others and you're growing yourself.
The podcast is Calm Voices, and it was intentionally created because I wanted to communicate with people that I either know or don't know and wanted to know. And I always use the final word as a way for the contributor to talk about anything they want to. It can be about what we just talked about in the session, or it can be about anything that's on their heart. But I think it's important that people hear the voices of other people so they can understand that the world not only has hope, but there's a diversity there that we can embrace. So with that, I'm going to leave the final word with you. And I thank you
Mm-hmm.
for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Lou. And this is great opportunity to just really reach people who are going through scary times, as most of all of us are. These are uncertain times. They can be scary. As my final parting words, I want to invite you, the listener, to truly, really tap into yourself, not live in fear, because once you give into the fear, whatever it is, it's hard to break free. You are in control of your character's script. How do you want your character, i.e., how do you want yourself, how do you want your life, your journey, how do you want it to play out? Because you do have the power, and it all starts in the mind. So I suggest, daily writing. Uh, get that stuff that's in your head, put it to paper, and how do you truly see yourself becoming over these next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, year, 3 years, and 5 years? Who is it that you want to become? Because if you're currently unhappy, if you're currently not where you want to be, that's fine. Become aware of it, and then become aware that you are in control, that you yourself have the potential for the for things that you can't even imagine right now. So it's stay focused, stay committed, stay disciplined, keep practicing, and just know that you are in control of your character's journey.